Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and Bethesda's just randomly dropped some new Starfield details. There's no rhyme or reason, method to their madness here. They just kind of do it. Last time we talked about Starfield details, it was the end of August. Now here we are almost 2 months later, and we're going, all right, more Starfield information in an unlisted YouTube video. Let's do this. So we have a lot to talk about there. We also have some Starfield leaks, I put that in quotes, to squash. And on top of that, an update on Skyrim Anniversary Edition and what exactly is happening here, because that game's coming out soon and we know very little about it, but it appears Bethesda's beginning to talk and share some details on it. So we got all of that in today's Bethesda Game Studios news update. If you're new here and you like all that stuff, consider subscribing. Of course, much more on the way. But before we begin any of that, a word from our sponsor.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I didn't see you there. Yes, I am indeed polishing my Mega Man helmet. I've learned to create some hobbies for myself. This is a great pastime, and the way I learned all of this was indeed through Skillshare.
If you're like me and you didn't enjoy the traditional school subjects, you graduated, never looked back, and suddenly you're getting the desire to learn again, then Skillshare is perfect for you, as it's an online learning community with thousands of inspiring, varied classes for curious and creative people. This past month, I selected the class by Jonathan Van Ness called The Ultimate Self-Care Playbook, Discover and Nurture Your Centered Self. We spend so much time focusing on others, focusing on our job, and we forget that self-care is just as important. It's something I learned a number of years ago, and these lessons helped recenter myself by focusing on creating a playbook, creating those hobbies that keep you mentally well. Health is wealth indeed. And I imagine for a lot of you, stuff like this sounds quite interesting. So the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get 1 free month trial of Skillshare so you can start exploring your creativity today. So as I said at the start of this, last time we heard from Bethesda Game Studios when it came to Starfield was one of these unlisted YouTube videos, and they documented 3 different planets across Starfield that you can explore. So now what we're doing is the same exact thing, except the topic here is the settled systems. I want you all to pay attention to this, okay? Because we're actually going to get some pretty important lore in the long run, and I think one of those bits of lore provides some context to the new concept art we're also getting for Starfield. So let's dive into the information we got. First and foremost, this is set in our solar system. It's called the Settled System. Starfield is set in the year 2330 in a relatively small pocket of the Milky Way. The Settled System extends about 50 light years out from the edge of our solar system. I actually have an example here that I found over on Reddit, and it was sent to me by one of my patrons, of what exactly stars within 50 light years looks like. Now, of course, this is not to scale for Bethesda Game Studios, but it gives you an idea, a scope of what exactly something like that could look like. What I like more than anything here is that it is a small extension of our solar system, which to me says that Bethesda Game Studios is focusing more on grounding this universe in reality. It's not going to be something like, I would say, No Man's Sky, where you're discovering 1,000,001 planets, you're flying all over the place. You're within a pocket, still within the Milky Way galaxy. It's not like Mass Effect where we're leaping galaxies. We don't have any of that quite yet. And I like that because there's room for growth, of course, but again, it sets the game in a certain reality that I think makes it a little bit more believable. 20 years before the game began in 2310, Emil Pagliarulo, design director of Starfield, says that the United Colony and Freestar Collective, which if you've been paying attention to some of our previous Starfield updates, you'll recognize these factions, engaged in what is called the Bloody Colony War. And then when you look at one of these bits of concept art here that I want to showcase nice and early, it's got some Fallout vibes. It's a desolate planet. You can see some crashed ships here. It looks like the remains of possibly a battlefield. And I'm wondering if there are going to be planets that we can land on or areas that we can explore that hone in on that very lore there. Given the fact that it was only 20 years ago at the time of us playing the game, I imagine this would make a lot of sense that we would see remnants of those battles. But now Emil's saying that those two factions are enjoying an uneasy peace, which means to me that I think at the end of this story, we're going to be helping one of these sides out in winning this war. Because Bethesda, they love their faction wars. They love them. That's like the pillar of Bethesda Game Studios storytelling. Look at all their Elder Scrolls games, all their Fallout games, and look right now at Starfield. It's always about the factions and choosing who you're probably going to end up helping. We also get a peek at some enemies that we may be encountering in our adventures across the Starfield. Emil says that the settled systems are still dangerous thanks to threats like the ecliptic mercenaries, pirates of the Crimson Fleet, violent spacers, and even fanatical religious zealots. Now, pay close attention to the pirates of the Crimson Fleet. This will be important later on in this video. However, the last faction is Constellation, which we know a decent amount about. That is the faction that your character is a part of, and they are committed to uncovering the mysteries of the galaxy. And what I thought was interesting is the wording by Emil Pagliarulo is you play as one of their newest members, which makes me wonder if you are going to run into other members of Constellation. And I think that's significant because in the way the trailer is portrayed to me personally, I interpreted it as you're sort of the lone member of Constellation because everyone's talking to you over on radio. It looked like no one else was around. So you're making your next flight, and it seems like you're humanity's hope, perhaps based off the theme of the trailer and some of the lore that was baked in there. So I was actually kind of surprised to hear that there may be multiple members out there exploring, and I wonder how often you'll bump into them. Beyond that, we have brand new concept art. On the topic of talking about an uneasy peace between the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective, they showed this image here, which honestly reminds me a lot of the Citadel over in Mass Effect, and I think they took blatant inspiration from that, which is totally fine for me when they're already saying there's an uneasy peace. I mean, that is really what the Citadel is. It's the melting pot of all these different races and all these different people across the galaxy getting together and trying to work as one. So totally cool with me that they took a page out of that playbook there. Also, when documenting how dangerous the settled system still is, they showed this little alleyway right here, sort of this underbelly of society. I really dug it. So I'm liking across all the concept art what I'm seeing from the game. Of course, yeah, I'd love to see gameplay, but I think it's unrealistic to expect that right now. I think we need to wait until next year when they have their own event for Starfield, or they do it as a part of Xbox's E3 showcase. One of those two is what's going to happen, and that's when we'll actually see gameplay. But for now, I'm pretty happy with what we're seeing with Starfield, and you can see just how liberating, you can hear how liberating it is to work on a new IP, because all of this sounds very interesting compared to some of Bethesda Game Studios' previous work. Now we have a leak to squash. So about a week and a half ago, I was working on a video individually for this. I scrapped it because I was like, this is trash. I don't want to release this. This is not worthy of just a single topic. But since it's a part of a much more important update on top of things happening with Skyrim Anniversary Edition, I thought, okay, let's include it in this and just squash it for those who thought it was real. So apparently, there was this leak right here. You may recognize this armor here because it's the same as the pirates from what we saw in that exact Starfield trailer. But what happened was this was falsely spread information across both Twitter and Reddit. I saw it popping up enough to where I thought it may have been justifiable to make a video, but it wasn't so widespread that I thought, okay, you know what, I'm not going to. But anyway, Harry Osborne is the artist behind this. He writes, "These are mine, fan art, not official assets or leaks, but flattered all the same," which you can see on his own page. That art is right there. So it looks great, and kudos to Henry. I mean, could have fooled any of us. But anyway, that Starfield leak is indeed fake. So if you were spreading it, or you thought, hey, this is real, and you were adding it into your speculation, because for example, this blueprint right here, a lot of people saw this and went, oh my God, went full in-depth analysis on it. Just know it's fake, sadly. But hey, it balances out. We got the fan art, and then on top of that, we've got the real art. So kudos to Harry for a job well done. With that, we got one last bit of information. Skyrim Anniversary Edition. There's something weird going on here, right? This is coming out November 11th. We're slowly approaching that release date, and I get it. Many people are already over Skyrim, but I'm not. And I'm wondering, how much is Bethesda Game Studios planning to charge us? Are they going to detail any of the new content coming to Skyrim? And I know all it takes is one blog post, which is maybe why they're waiting, but you'd think they'd at least give us a price tag, right? So hopefully they'll eventually do that. But what they did confirm to us are aquariums. Don't tap on the glass. They don't like that. Add an aquarium to your Hearthfire homes at Skyrim Special / Anniversary Edition on November 11th for all your fresh catches. Yeah, so they're adding fishing, as we already know. And when you fish, you can take those fish and put them in a aquarium. Kind of cool. I like Hearthfire, but I also now low-key loathe it because I know it led to the overblown settlement system in Fallout 4, which damaged a lot of its role-playing mechanics, so there's some trauma there at the end of the day. With that said, I'm wondering when Bethesda is going to start to pull the covers off of Skyrim Anniversary Edition. Myself and many others are really looking forward to it. I cannot wait to dive back into this game and see all the new content. You know, the idea that they're adding dozens and dozens and dozens of pieces of brand new DLC into this package makes it like a fresh game for me. It's been so long since I've done a full playthrough of Skyrim, so seeing this, I'm thinking, wow, it's gonna be great to go back, but I'd like to know how much we're paying for it, because we're in a world where GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition is rumored to be $70. We've seen some really overpriced remakes and ports in the last number of years, and of course with the love of Skyrim, and Bethesda at times not doing a good job with pricing things. I'm talking about the launch of Fallout first. I don't trust them right now to hit the nail on the head with the right price tag. And the longer they're silent, the less I trust it. And of course, we have to wonder if it's going to be a free upgrade over on PC. What's going to happen on that front? Because Bethesda's refused to comment on all this stuff. So I thought at least we could get a price tag, and then if they want to let reviewers handle the rest, I guess so. Pretty much trial by fire at that point, but Skyrim's already proven enough. I'm just talking more so about the new content. With that, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I've got for you in this Bethesda Game Studios news update, from new Starfield info to speculation on, of course, Skyrim Anniversary Edition and squashing out that Starfield leak. So let me know what you're thinking of the plethora of information we went over in today's video. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.